Start. Well, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. We're globetrotting again today. Wow, this show goes everywhere. We're in Australia, and we're talking to an artist.
We're in
today.
the land down under.
The land down under, yeah.
Just so you know, it's not New York.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen is actually sponsored by the New York Tourist Department.
Yes. So I get $1 every time we mention it. So it's very exciting for us.
Yeah. So he has to get in New York very early. If you think you're going to get paid 10 by the Australian Tourist Board, then just keep mentioning everything you can about Australia. But in the meantime, this gentleman, Tim Lee, all we know about him is that one of our earlier guests, Mel Hearts, was a complete fan. She said, Dave, you've got to get him on the show. You got to see his stuff. And so that's what's happening today. We've got you on the show. We don't know anything about you, which is great because it's always interesting to find out. But we do know that you're an artist. And enough of my normal intro waffle. We'll pass straight over to Tim.
Great. Thanks very much, Dave. And pleasure to meet yourself and Steve.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
So, no worries.
Yeah.
So tell our 12 fans globally all about you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope you're all listening in. All right. So about myself. Well, look, I've always been a creative person since I was a kid. Probably one of my earliest memories I have of making something was probably when I was in about grade 1 or something like that. And I'd always, pop down to Dad's shed and find bits and pieces that he was throwing out, and then I'd put them all together and make something out of it, usually a plane or a gun, which is what kids usually, little boys love to play with. And then after that, mum and dad were always like, yeah, Tim, you're really good at art, keep going with it. But don't forget, you do need a job in time, sort of thing to pay the bills. So I did the usual thing, went through primary school, went through high school, and high school was, like most people at that age, confusing, and really didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And I'm 50 now, and to tell you the truth, I really didn't know what I wanted to do till about 5 or 6 years ago. So a bit of a late bloomer as far as chasing my dreams, as it were. And so after graduating high school, like I said, didn't know what I wanted to do, so I thought I'd just chase my art as I was, getting a few accolades and pats on the backs and that sort of thing for what I was doing. A lot of it was kind of unusual at that stage, even for a teenager. But so I just went straight into art college. I studied at the Seven Hills College of Art, which was there, part of Griffith University. And I was there for about 4 years. So, and I actually majored in ceramics, or sculptural ceramics.
Does that explain the skeleton behind you, or?
Well, yeah, I've always had.
I think he was a customer who didn't pay, Stephen. I think it's.
Oh, okay. I always hate when that doesn't happen.
He might be the last guy who's still waiting for the interview too. I've always had an interest in anatomy, naturally, and of course that went hand in hand when you're studying art. So with life drawing and so forth. And when I said sculptural ceramics, I did a lot of life-size figurative pieces out of clay. So that was an interest. While I don't think it was my true passion, I've always liked insects, bugs, beetles, spiders, whatnot. Spiders, when it comes to spiders, look, I'm just shit scared of spiders, but I do respect them, and I will actually use them in my artwork quite often. So after art college, I still really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got my degree in fine art, majoring in ceramics, drawing, and then I went and did just a wheel throw and pottery course. And I thought, yeah, okay, well that's something that'd be fun, some shits and giggles. So I went and did that for about a year, and then after that, got engaged, went and got married, had the 2 kids, all that sort of thing. But I also went and got a job at QUT, the Queensland University of Technology, just as a lackey, started as a lackey, and then I just ended up supervising the printery which was at their Gardens Point campus. And again, that wasn't what I really dreamed I'd be doing with my life. But it's what it was, you know, had to pay the bills, had a mortgage, all that sort of thing. Anyway, life rolled on, got a divorce, as most people do these days. And,
well, just remember, Tim, a divorce makes 4 people happier.
Well, that's right. It's a good way of putting it. Actually, I should throw that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So actually, before the divorce, I actually went into partnership with my brother. So my brother's a very practical, straight down the line sort of a person. He had some creativity, but mostly with mechanics. And we actually went into partnership in a pallet and crating company. And well, again, it wasn't my dream or desire to do every day. It was the prospect of being my own boss. And I released a video about June last year because I gave up that position. When I say gave it up, my brother and I, we sold the business last June. And so that was after 16 years of doing that job. So I was the factory manager there, and then I just segued into the sales rep position. So we thought, yeah, okay, I've had enough of dealing with people because, you know, I don't like people.
Hence the skeleton in the background. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think most people, most salespeople don't like people. I think that's how it is. I think you just sort of have to do it for therapy.
Yeah. Oh, look. I mean, yeah. I have no qualms about talking to people or anything like that. That's why my brother thought I'd be good for the sales role, and I thought, yeah, I could handle that. No worries. But then, yeah, after about year 12, year 13, it really started to give me the shits. So so we decided to sell. So we sold the business. And it was at that point that I thought, oh man, what am I going to do? You know, I've still got a mortgage. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm going to still need a job. And I don't know what, I had an epiphany one night or something like that. Must have woke up in the middle of the night. And I just thought, nah, bugger it. I'm just going to, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go, go out, do my own thing. I do what I want to do. So in this, it was pretty much ad-libbed. It was the first day of my unemployment that I actually posted a video on YouTube. And I posted it under the name of Nexus Dawn Studios because I've always had an interest in movies, cosplay. So I do cosplay. I don't know if you can see it, but I do the occasional Count Dooku with the 501st.
And David does the Hamburglar, and he's dressed today. We didn't even know you did cosplay, so it works out well for us.
So yeah, so I started doing props for cosplayers and things like that. While I enjoyed it, and I always liked the technical challenge of every piece that I did, it's still, yeah, I don't know. It's still cool. I enjoyed it. Look, I was doing my own thing. I was living the dream, as they say. So, but it still wasn't paying the bills by far. Anyway, I was sitting out having breakfast with my current other half, Michelle, who's also a creative person. Sitting out, and I saw this really lovely spiderweb just glistening in the morning sun. You know, you could hear the violins playing in the background. It was very idyllic. And I thought, I've seen someone once before try and capture a spiderweb onto black cardboard or something like that. So I went out to my workshop. I even built a 6 meter by 6 meter workshop for anticipation of making props and so forth.
And for the people outside of everywhere in the United States, that is 6 meters by 6 meters is basically 36 by 36 feet. Just so we're clear.
Bingo.
I'm sorry, it's 18 by 18 because meters are 3 feet. I'm sorry. So 6 by 6, that would be 18. 18 by 18 feet. I'm sorry. I was drinking heavily.
And of course, after you're 50, every man needs a shed. I mean, it's as simple as that.
And a couple extra meters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. So,
well, they're feet where we come from, but don't worry, Stephen. It's okay.
That's it, meters, feet, or in some places inches. You know what I'm saying?
Inches, yeah.
Okay. So
I was just curious, Stephen. What sort of sizes do they use in New York?
In New York, we only use one size, which is huge. So, as somebody would say. So anyway, we did. Please,
That's
Tim, tell us more.
that's another dollar in the tin.
I'm telling you, I can almost
well
get a
done,
coffee at
well done.
Starbucks in another day. So
Sorry, Tim. Back to your shed.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I can try and spring into feet and inches if you like, because I do remember my dad telling me about those things.
very cool.
Anyways,
So we're at an 18 by 18 foot shed.
yeah,
Tim's gonna get at his 3-iron. No, I'm sorry. Tim has a work shed now. Go ahead.
So I look, I even at my 50th, I even went and bought myself a little car for fun, which was a 2005 PT Cruiser. It was
Nice.
not quite the sports car, but hey, I like the design. So
An underpowered car, though. So now we'll get off on a
Yes.
car tangent. So right, it needs a bigger engine. I think
It
it's
does
a
need a bigger
6-cylinder, right? It needs an 8, I think. Or it's a. It needs a.
Don't
It
know where
needs a
you
bigger.
cram it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, just the fact that I've driven it, and you sort of put your foot on the gas, and you're like, if you just had a little more horsepower or a turbo,
Yep.
something, I think it would
Yep.
be in a great car. And I think they would have sold a lot more, and they'd probably still be around because it looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
And handles it handles great, but just not enough
Yeah,
power.
yeah. For a small car, yeah, it's
Yep.
fine. But yeah, it is a little thirsty because it is underpowered.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But
Anyway,
but the burning question is, did it fit inside your shed?
no. No, actually, well, so I've got my workshop, but then we also have a single car garage. And in our single car garage was another investment I made before we sold the business, which was a laser cutter. So Michelle, my other half, she keeps her little Hyundai Getz in the garage next to the laser cutter. And my poor PT Cruiser is out in the carport at the moment. So, and then of course my workshop, well, that's full of all my toys and stuff. So, yeah.
Now, are you in the workshop now, or are you actually in the main dwelling?
No. This is I'm in what we call our study or our dust-free studio.
Sure.
Yeah. So because I still do a lot of woodworking out in the workshop and resin work. So there's a lot of sanding and so forth. I'm still doing props. I'm actually doing a cosplay at the moment. Roy Pulsifus from Rest in Peace Department, Jeff Bridges' character.
I remember that movie. It was a very funny movie.
Yeah, it was I thought a very underrated movie. A lot of people thought it was just ripping off Men in Black, but it was based on a Dark Horse comic, so you can't go wrong with that. So that's a current cosplay that I'm doing at the moment. So there's a lot of dust and so forth as far as sanding 3D prints and painting and blah, blah, blah. So that's what the big workshop is for the big messy stuff. And then we've got our studio here where I've got 3D printers and all my insects, specimens, and Michelle does acrylic brooches. So she needs dust-free, obviously, because she resins a lot of her acrylics and so forth. As well.
It sounds a lot. You got like a lot of plate spinning, Tim, at the moment. Have you kind of settled on what? I mean, yeah, you sound like you're a bit of a creative magpie, and that's meant as a compliment. But is there anything? Do you like having lots of different stuff happening all at the same time? I mean, if I read a book, for instance, I can't read one book. I normally have about 3 or 4 on the go. Just depending on the mood that I'm in, I just sort of jump in and read something.
And to be fair, when you're reading Dr. Seuss, you can read 3 or 4 at the same time because it's pretty much the same character.
But I like the pictures, Stephen.
That's what I read.
The doctor said to me, just look at the pictures. So that's what I'm doing.
That's a National Geographic.
I enjoy passing the time by pulling out a Far Side volume. So yeah.
There you go.
but
the
seriously,
14-year-olds watching us don't know what Far Side is, let alone Dr. Seuss. So
seriously, you sound like you got a lot of stuff on the go. Is that deliberate? Is that deliberate? Then it's something that you think, oh, I like to flip from one thing to another, or?
Yeah. Look, I do find that if a project goes too long, I feel as though I'm getting a little bit mentally stagnant with it. And so I do tend to deviate. Sometimes people will say, hey, Tim, here's a great idea for you. And I'll say, yep, that's an awesome idea. I'll put that on the list. That'll be project number 386 now. But I am narrowing down at the moment as far as.
So you're under the 300 now. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, trying to. So I've narrowed my field of creativity a lot down to captured spiderweb creations, which is what I go by now.
Yeah. So what does that entail, Tim? That sounds,
I know. The name is very, very, very vague, isn't it? So what I do is I go out and I capture spider webs, and then I make creations with these captured spider webs. So yeah.
So how does that? I can't visualize that. How do you capture a spider's web? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep. So I guess this goes back to where I was going on to the story of I saw this spider web glistening in the morning sun.
Right.
So I captured that. I put it onto a card. Let me grab. Oh, I don't know if you can pick that up.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's a spider's web that's been captured onto a piece of card.
So Tim, so did you literally just put the card up against the spider web, and because the spider web is sticky, that it attach itself to the card? As simple as that?
Not as simple as that, no, because the spider web actually doesn't show up that well just on plain cards. So what I actually do is I go outside and I say, sorry, Mother Nature, and I spray the spider's web with a white aerosol paint.
Okay.
If there is a spider in the web, I do generally chase them off. So because I don't want to hurt my workers, my employees. So and they'll come back and build Big Daddy another web one day.
There you go.
So yeah, so then I'll just hopefully when there's no wind around, then I'll actually throw the cardboard behind it, tentatively try and get all the strands that are coming off the card. It'll attach to the card, and then I'll throw just a clear adhesive over the top of it. And
so it's because you've put this paint on it, and then you put the card behind. It makes it sort of super sticky.
Yeah,
and that projects itself onto the card. Is that correct?
Yeah. The paint on the web just amplifies what's already there.
Wow.
Because the silk is so fine, it's very hard to see, particularly from a distance. So you probably wouldn't have been able to have seen it on the screen if I'd shown you just a naked web.
Can we have another look at that, Tim, as well?
Yeah, of course.
And if people want to purchase this from you, shameless plug time, how do they do that?
Okay, well, at the moment, I'm still in my noob fledgling stage. So I've only got a presence on Facebook and Instagram at the moment, and both under the title of Captured Spiderweb Creations. Okay. I thought I needed a name that's self-explanatory and something that you can't forget. So the spiderweb again. So this is actually a St. Andrew's cross spiderweb,
nice.
And
I know St. Andrews. Really nice. He loves that web, by the way. So he's a very nice guy. So
he's lovely.
Now I have a question while we're talking about the spider web, and feel free to show all the art. So, but I want to go back to the cosplay because this fascinates me. So what do you do? So you make this stuff for cosplay, like you're doing the Rest in Peace Squad. So when you make this, are you doing it for someone specific? You doing it for you, or is someone saying we need something for X?
Well, I've done some small pieces for customers, clients in the past, but I've sort of put that to the back a bit for the Captured Spiderweb Creations now.
Gotcha.
At the moment, the Roy costume is for myself, so I've still yet to have a bit of a shave and so forth. We've got a Comic-Con coming up in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So I pretty much have all the costume ready to go, except I've got to do some leather work for his holster and the 3D printed pistol that they have, which is really unusual and unique. Yeah. So
yes.
Well, we'd love to see all of that, Tim. And maybe if you go to the Comic-Con, you can take your phone with you and make a film for us, so we can put that on the website as well.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be putting Tim's profile on the twooldfartsmakingnoises anyway, and this of course will be on our YouTube channel. But sorry Tim, I interrupted you for an advert.
That's okay. We're all in the business of plugging ourselves. So yes, the spiderweb side of things. So I move on from that to hopefully you can see what's going on here.
Very beautiful.
There we go.
Butterflies and a spider.
Yeah, and a spider. So yes, I've got many species of butterfly and spiders, and then I'll mount them onto the web. So this is something that I found was very popular very quickly. The first spider web that I captured, I just had a butterfly in my own personal collection of bugs and insects. Right. I threw it on the web and I threw it up on Facebook Marketplace, and it sold within 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought I better make another one.
Is this in the Victorian tradition of using actually capturing live butterflies and then presenting them as art, pinning them into the art, or are you printing these?
I used to capture my own insects and so forth, but as demand grew, I had to find insect wholesalers, which I was able to do. So I actually buy insects and arachnids from 3 different suppliers at the moment. One's actually based in Belgium, who specializes in Southeast Asian insects.
Cool.
And then I also get from 2 wholesalers who are based in South America.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and of course, things have been a little bit slow as far as specimens and the variety of specimens because of COVID over the last couple of years, particularly around the less fortunate countries like the countries of South America,
Right.
and of course Southeast Asia as well. So, but the show goes on. So, yeah.
Tim, is it controversial that you're using these insects that people have? I could imagine they're a bit of like, I was going to say Marmite, but for you it's like Vegemite sort of thing, really. Do you get pushback on that as well? Because I mean, the Victorians. Well, I mean, I come from the UK, and as a child, we used to always go to the museums, and they were absolutely full of these specimens, all pinned.
Yeah.
You know, butterflies all pinned out, and spiders all pinned out. Yeah, and nowadays, of course, the museums are slightly embarrassed about that. They don't want you to see that sort of stuff anymore. I just wondered if you got a lot of pushback on that.
Yeah. Look, I've had some, probably about 5% of feedback that I get is a little negative. I've had some who have just straight out said, "We think you're an arsehole, you know, poor beetles and all this sort of stuff." Look, it is what it is as far as I'm concerned.
Please don't get me wrong. I'm not judging you. I was just trying to ascertain.
I'm being judged at all.
Because art is art, isn't it? And what I like, Stephen doesn't like, and what Stephen likes, I don't like. You know, so that's But I was just, it just happens to be one of those things, doesn't it? You know, like people say, because I could see the absolute beauty in that, and you've been incredibly creative and clever by putting the spider web behind it, then the spider, then the other bits and bobs. But you can imagine people go, oh, that used to be a real bug, but now it's dead and it's in a frame.
Well, look, you know, all bugs have a very short lifespan. But yeah, there are companies out there who do farm insects for collectors, for artists. But anyone who tells you that they're humanely sourced, they're talking through their hat. Because look, you know, if you were to find a butterfly that had died naturally in the wild and you wanted to mount it, you wouldn't, because it would look tattered, it would look absolutely crap. The butterflies, they just, you know, live as hard as they can, you know, eat and breed. That's all they do in their short lifespan. And so by the end of it, they are absolutely horrible looking.
So it's like a uni student, basically. They just eat and breed. That's it. Like
that's it.
Okay, got it. All right, there you go.
So no one wants to buy a ratty tatty butterfly. So they want to buy a beautiful butterfly, and they want to appreciate it for what it is, and they want to admire, you know, nature's natural beauty. So I like to think I try to help do that, but I don't consider myself the same as other insect taxidermists, because I prefer to tell a story with my creations.
Right.
One of my biggest selling pieces was I take a little skeleton about yay big. I throw some wings on it, like a cicada wings or something like that, and then I'll mount it into a web with a large spider. And what was it? Fairy tale broken is what I called it. And that went off. I had to produce 100 of them really quickly for all sorts of people from all around the world. So that was great. And yet, you know, there's a spider there which has been acquired through the same process as a butterfly, but no one says, "Oh, that poor spider." You know.
Just the poor butterfly.
Just the poor butterflies.
Gotcha.
but I do get, you know, admirers of arachnids who do go, oh, that poor spider, you know, all this sort of thing. And it's so like, well, you know, I'm not the only person doing it, and I'm not the only person who admires dead things. So, and I must admit, dead things sell. So
No, like my
Yeah.
ex-wife, a lot of people admired her. She was like a dead thing. So I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, you know,
And
totally. get it.
yeah, and people keep coming back and watching our show, and we're nearly dead anyway. So that
Yeah,
must
there
be,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
well, I mean, dude, I went grey at 18. So
Yeah.
I've always looked as though I'm half dead. As a matter of fact, I had
David's
someone.
only 12. So,
Oh,
you know,
geez.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ooh.
yeah.
it's
Well,
not the
I
year.
think I was in my early 30s when I started to go grey. So yeah,
Well,
and,
I
and
always
it
tell
was
everyone,
that
I
was
tell
the joy.
everyone it's not the years, it's the mileage. So
There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, that was a sort of almost as if God gave me a choice. You know, you go grey or you go bald. So whichever comes first when it's early. So
yeah. Well, look, it comes in handy for my cosplay, so I don't mind it so much. So
There you go.
yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah,
I have
well,
a friar tuck, so I just told people grass doesn't grow on a busy street.
That's right.
So there
That's
you
right.
go. So
don't forget, it's also
Yeah.
a solar panel for a sex machine.
Yeah.
gotta write
Yeah,
that down.
and I was going to make a joke about Friar Tuck, but there you go.
Oh, okay.
But
All right, so now we have our captured spiderweb creations. They can get it on Facebook and they can get it
Yes.
on Instagram.
That's correct. Yes. So
Soon
I'm
to be
working on
here
a
on
website at the
YouTube.
moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So the YouTube channel. I had plans for a continuing YouTube channel. That started off as Nexus Dawn Studios. I've now changed it to Captured Spiderweb Creations.
Okay.
But video making is another project I don't have enough time for these days. So
you
but
just come on our show and we'll do the videos. It's like that's what everybody seems to do.
Oh,
All the
too
artists,
easy.
it really literally tell you now. Everybody that knows our channel will know we have a few, whether they're chefs or artists, and every day or every couple of days they will send us a 30-second to a 1-minute short, and we post it. And one of the shorts I think is up to 55,000, and most of them get like 3,000 to 5,000 views on a global basis with our 12 fans.
Cool.
But you know, it's so if you have shorts, we will send them and put them out.
Yeah.
And people can see what you're doing and up to, especially the cosplay. I think that when you finish your REP, I think the people would find that fascinating because we did a show because of Mel. She talked about cosplay and whatnot. And a lot of people were like, oh, that's really cool. Tell us more.
Yeah.
Tell us more. And no one from the cosplay community wants to come on our show because, you know, they don't realize that we're in costume. So, so it would be awesome to see that. I think a lot of people that are listeners, or I should say viewers, would find it fascinating to see that because they can't get down to the land down under and, see the cosplay. They can see the one in San Diego or New York or LA. They can't really see the one in Australia. And that one I'm sure is phenomenal.
Yeah, that'd be really,
So-
really great if you have some clips of that. I mean, obviously you probably have to do it outside of the show because in the show, you know, they get a bit miffed because all the copyrights, etc., etc.
Copyrights.
Yeah,
Stop.
I mean, we're just waiting for the lawsuit. Can we get more publicity out of that? But
I always say I'll wait till the third cease and desist letter.
That's what our attorney says too. So-
Yeah. It's the restraining orders I have a problem with, but there you
That's
go.
right, dude. And 50 feet from schools, it's a whole thing. But anyway,
Yeah, the whole thing. It's an age thing. But it'd be interesting to, as Steve was saying, to be interested to look at the objects that you're making because people are actually fascinated by that. And if we can encourage you to do a step through as well. You just have like this is what I start off with, a block of plastic or whatever, and this is halfway through and this is the end thing, because that people find it absolutely fascinating. And
we do too.
Yeah, and it's one of those, what I always say to people, it's one of those sort of birthday party things, you say, oh, by the way, did you see how the guy had made his gun, or did you see how the guy made this? So it's a little bit of intellectual property that people can take and share with other people. It helps promote you and what you're doing.
Oh, look, happy to do that. I really started off, like I said, I started off doing that, trying to make props and doing a YouTube video as well, and at least trying to get some sort of a passive income from that too. But the insects have really taken over from where I've gone at the moment. So juggling juggling both cosplay fun and dead bug fun. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but at the moment the insects are paying for the bills. So
it's the same thing with the insects as well, because it was fascinating to hear you talk about them. So just that process, like you're saying, you know, you just say, oh, this you find the spin where the spider's web. I need to said it in Dutch then.
Well, here's
the spider's web, and then you put it on the paper, and then you do your other bits and pieces. That people would be fascinated to see that process. Sorry, Stephen, you were gonna.
No, I was gonna say, talking about butterflies, there was a book I read a few years ago called The Dangerous World of Butterflies. And I don't think people realize that some of these butterflies go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the world's largest butterfly zoo, if you will, for lack of better terms, is in Coconut Creek, Florida, not New York. I'm very upset about that. But anyway, it's in Coconut Creek, Florida. And this whole book talked about this one butterfly, and I forget the name of it, but it was worth like, say, $200,000. And people would kill each other and do whatever just to get that butterfly so you could capture it and then take it to Coconut Creek or wherever these butterfly worlds are, or bring it to an artist that says, I will pay you, or a collector, so much money for this XYZ butterfly because they're hard to find, and then use it in art or use it in their private collection. So I don't think people realize that the world of butterfly collecting, or even getting butterflies from third parties, and you know, if you peel back the veil a little bit, or the kimono skirt, if you will, I think you find it, book was it's a very dangerous, like almost like a drug cartel. So it was just fascinating to read that, because, you know, it's a butterfly, it's pretty, you know, it's like it's going to go here or there. But when you read this book, it's wild. So,
yeah.
So is it now, Tim, the butterfly man? Is that what we're going to call him, or are you the Spider Man? Tim the Spider Man.
Oh, I do like Spider-Man. That's all right.
there you go.
Yeah. Well, again, I have a phobia of spiders, but I will work with them provided they're dead.
I feel the same. I feel the same way about Stephen, but
that's true, and I am dead. And I literally said that to my ex-wife. I said, I'll only do anything with you if you're dead. So, you know, so there you go. So, worked out well.
Well, the webs is only a small part of what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm sort of branching out into other areas. And the latest one is an interest that I've had for a long time. And I was able to show this interest back in my ceramics days of mixing or meshing the biology with mechanical. And I did a large figurative piece, which I affectionately nicknamed Fifi. And she's a woman, a naked woman, but she's got mechanical pieces embedded in her and on her and so forth. But so as far as the insect side of things, I've gone into creating, let's see, I'll just try and hold this much more carefully. So
very
gone into creating beetles with watch components inside them.
And these are again, awesome. These are again real beetles.
Yes, they are real beetles.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing at the moment is sourcing movements for watches, and I've just bought a whole heap of watches from the Ukraine, of all places, and from a very nice gentleman in the Ukraine. I ordered them pretty much just at the same time Russia invaded. So as soon as I hit the purchase button, Russia invaded, and that.
Oh, so that's your fault. Great. Thanks a lot.
Pretty much. So that sent my order into a delay of about 6 months or something like that. But it got here in the end.
Are you trying to tell us this because nobody can tell the time in the Ukraine they went to war? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I will say that they are passionate for analog movements. I'll say that, because they certainly have a surplus of them. So that's what's really taking off at the moment, and that's what I'm really concentrating on at the moment is these mechanical, or what I like to call augmented beetles.
So now with the augmented beetle with the watch part in it, I'm assuming the wings will flap and what will move, or is
no. I'm not an engineer. Okay. I haven't got that far as yet, nor am I a good mechanic. No, they're purely static, but they are. I've just found them to be really, really popular.
And what sort of prices will they be then, Tim? As a ballpark figure?
Yeah, look, in Australian dollars, they're averaging somewhere between 280 up to 400 Australian dollars. And the Australian dollar is pretty shit at the moment. So
hold on, we'll do the math
if you're in America, you'll be getting a bargain.
I'll tell you what the bargain is. Hold on a minute. Here we go.
Yeah.
I may happen to have one of these on my phone. So we were in the Australian dollar. That begins with A. So let's go up to A. Hold on. You guys keep talking. I'll let you know what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
you
all
know, it's money. You see, this is a
Well,
New York thing. Every time
so
you mention money,
280, so 280 Australian is 176 US, which is funny because when I lived there, it was literally half. So when you would get paid, it was like 2 to 1. It was awesome. So 280 is 170, if you will, in the United States. And then you said the high, will say, it was just say 500 Aussie, 314.
Yeah.
So basically, Starbucks coffee. There you go.
Oh, there you
So
go. Yeah.
$314, all good. So
sorry, how much, Stephen, was that? I missed that. How much was that in dollars?
500 Aussie is about 314 US, and the 280 is about 176 US today, which is October 13th, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's what the rate is today.
1822 are we in now? Or have we moved up a year?
1822. It's, before people know what they're doing. We just happen to have an iPhone, back in the day. So we're very good. That is real. I like those beetles. I will tell you that that's fascinating to me. I think they're very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've only seen 2. We're waiting for the other 2 for the Fab 4.
Yeah, that's right. Well, these beetles, they're sort of taking me in the direction that I really want to go. It's small work which I enjoy doing. Each one is a technical challenge. I don't know how many beetles I've done to date at the moment. I know it's getting close to 100 at the moment, but I can guarantee that no 2 have worked out the same, because all their bodies are different and they
Tim,
all take different size components. So
Tim, sorry to interrupt you, but on a practical side, then are you able to ship this stuff over the world? Are there hundreds of forms you have to fill in to send off books to other people, or you just say it's art and it goes?
It's art, exactly so, mate. I just list everything as artwork and it goes, no hassles at all. If it's they tend to have more of a problem if it's bones. So I don't send anything. I don't send anything with bones or skeletons at the moment. But it's something I'll probably have to diverse into because I am getting a lot more requests for that sort of stuff.
You can imagine that's going to freak out all the custom officers, because they're going to open this thing up. They say, well, it's a bug and it's got a watch in it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're happy if it doesn't vibrate or explode. So that's good.
I was just going to say, if it doesn't bite them, I'm thinking they're relatively happy with all of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It depends on the country too. Some would eat them. So,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Some delicacies.
Very high in protein.
Yeah.
And Tim, are you shipping these across the globe at the moment, or is it just purely Australia business?
No. Look, I've had pieces go to Denmark. I've had pieces go to the US quite often. If it's not in Australia, it's going to the US. So that's where a lot of my clientele are at the moment.
Anybody in New York, Dubai, and this?
Bound to be. I'm sure there is. Yeah.
Do people live in New York, Stephen? Is that what you're trying to
a few people live in New York, like about 20 million. So just a few.
So New York must be a rather large place then. Is that what you're trying to tell
I heard. I read it in a book. Yeah, it looks really in pictures. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
So,
which city are we talking about, Stephen?
There's only one city in the world. That would be New York City. Even though I will say Sydney and Melbourne, very nice. When I lived in Australia for a year, I enjoyed it. The people were very friendly. The loo would go the opposite way than we have up here, which is always fascinating. And then you could go to the bottom of the planet and watch the penguins jump out of the water, which I also thought was very fascinating. And I got to play golf and hit kangaroos on a golf course, which I thought was a bunch of rocks. And see the Scooby-Doo house that was in the first Scooby-Doo movie. And I was like, that house looks familiar. And the guys I were with, that's the Scooby-Doo house. And the one that hangs on the cliff. I thought they CGI'd it and it was the real house. So yeah, living in Australia I loved it. I would go back tomorrow, except for the 12,000 hour plane ride, crossing 15 oceans and, a few things like that. But other than that, it's a great place to go. I still have friends that live there. Not that they'll live there. So
excellent. Yeah. Well, look, my dad was in the army, so I've pretty much lived up and down the east coast of Australia in my very early days as a child. And then we settled in Brisbane, done a little bit of traveling, but I don't mind Brisbane. But I think I'd probably I think when I do retire, which it could be another 50 years away yet as far as the bugs are going, I'll probably head down to Tasmania. So if you come back to Australia, you should check out Tasmania.
I only
Yeah.
remember the Tasmanian Devil with Bugs Bunny, so I have to check out the actual. And it's not really part, if as far as I'm not, it's not part of Australia, right? Isn't it like a little island off of like
Yeah.
little
That's
offshoot
right.
off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, named after a Dutchman called Tasman, who I think either claimed it for the Dutch when it originally came.
Very nice.
yeah,
Look at this. You get, not only do you learn about bugs and cosplay on our show, you get a history lesson as well. So,
How informative.
Yeah,
we tried it.
and
We tried
and,
it.
of course the Tasmanian devil actually nearly was extinct because of disease, and they couldn't work out what it was for a long time, and now they've worked out what's actually killing them, and they're slowly, the numbers are slowly going back up again. So that's a plus.
Yeah.
That's a plus point. But
it's
fading
cool,
that, you can turn them into a watch. So it's all good.
Yeah.
But,
I
and I
think
want to
they're big enough to make a nice fanny pack, I think. So yeah.
Nice, sure. Don't say that to their face, though. So, so let's go back to the live woman you made with the parts. But so and you just kind of skipped over that. You made,
Yeah, we were still waiting to see her, Tim. Come on, where's she?
So now, where's the live
right.
woman with parts?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I can take the laptop and walk you out there if you like.
If you would like to, it is your abode. If you don't feel comfortable don't do it. If you do, sure, let's see the live woman.
No, that's cool. That's cool. All right, let's go for a walk. So we go for a quick
we're
walk.
going for a walk. I love when we do this. This is how I get my exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to turn on a couple of lights, of course.
I forgot it's very early in Australia right now. It's like 7 in the morning.
Oh well, it's sunny Queensland, but it's all overcast at the moment too.
Oh, okay.
So so this.
Oh, sure. I dated her in high school. I remember her. Yeah.
Oh, that's what she looks like.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
That is wild. That's very good. Now, is that piece? There's somebody's going to want to buy that.
Yeah, seriously.
No, she's not for sale. So
okay.
She was my final year exhibition when I was at art college.
Can I just interrupt you, Tim, and say that I've never heard an artist say that nothing is for sale, everything's for sale.
I've sold a few pieces in my time, and I've got a few regrets, I can say. But she's a one-off, so I don't think I'll ever get the chance to make another one. So
I think she's judging by the look on her face, she's trying to tell you something at the moment. But
so that is Fifi.
Fifi is my new best friend. So there.
And you've got and the artwork behind you. What's that? Is that also?
Is that yours?
So this was all a part of my final year exhibition. I did a series of wall pieces. They are also ceramic as clay, and then we've also got down here. We got so that's Fifi broken up into components for traveling.
Very cool.
It was a very conceptual piece. Integration of machinery and body, and during the Gulf War, they were really like flogging the Apache helicopters, which were integrated with the pilots, the advanced headwear and all this sort of stuff. So that's what that was all about. But like I said, that was from my art college days. So that was 1993. I graduated from art college. So and then. What we're in my part of the house now, which I like to call the gallery.
Okay.
So everything up here is pretty much what I've made over the years. There's drawings and so forth. Something else that I do with my insects is I repurpose old clocks.
Very cool.
And I'll put spiders and butterflies as well as spider webs inside the clocks, and I find they go off very well as well.
They're also available for sale, Tim, are they?
Yes.
What sort of price are they going to be?
Well, that can range. I've also I've started to branch out into analog wall clocks for two reasons. One, they're a very lovely wooden piece to actually, and lots of space inside to put a lot of things. And two, I also get to pull the workings out of them and reuse the workings in other art pieces. Gotcha. So clocks can range from 150 up to 500, depending on how much work goes into them, and how much the clocks have actually cost me as well. So I'm always trolling Facebook Marketplace and the Goodwill shops, as
very nice.
You folks in America like to call them.
Yeah, we still call them Goodwill.
Yeah, thrift stores, I think, and But
we call them op shops out here.
Tim, as much as I really love your spider stuff, you're sort of zipping around your room here. The ceramics, the ceramics are absolutely gorgeous. What was there no traction in that? Did it take you too long to produce pieces? Is that why you slowed down on the ceramics? Because they look fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, look, I really enjoyed it when I did it. So here's a cabinet full of stuff that I've made over the years as well.
Cool.
I did enjoy working with clay. I do love working with clay. Anything that I can, like I said, small, detail, technically challenging is what I really enjoy. It's just, I don't know, it can be expensive. And at the time, I just wasn't able to follow that path, and I really haven't had that much of a urge to get back into it, especially since for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm really enjoying putting my interests of insects and nature with art,
With spiders,
and
sure.
Yeah, so and now I'm really enjoying the augmentation of insects and so forth at the moment. So that's really pretty much what I want to try and keep going with the mechanical beetles augmentation, whatever you'd like to call it. I've just recently collaborated with a local photographer called Steve Robson, and he and we really click. So he loves small, interesting things as well. And when I say that, I'm basically bugs. And he is a fantastic macro photographer. So I'm collaborating with him to break out into other things concerning the mechanical beetles. One will be t-shirts.
Nice.
And stickers and so forth. But I do also want to self-publish a book. I tapped into something which was kind of unusual. I use small artists' mannequins, and I repurpose them, and I attach butterfly wings to them and so forth. And I've dubbed them Tooth Fairies. So I've written a science fiction short story to go in tandem with these Tooth Fairies. And they've really been well received as well. So I'm looking to produce more Tooth Fairy pieces and self-publish a book to go with it. It'll just be a small book, mostly illustrations with a touch of short stories thrown in here and there. I'm just making my way to give you an example of one of my Tooth Fairies.
Sure. Well, when you do the book in the Tooth Fairy, you've got to come back.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm sort of excited about that. Steve and I were actually talking about doing an exhibition, and then I thought, no, I think I'd like to produce the book first, some prints as well, high quality prints, and then we'll move into an exhibition, and that will be a part of it, as well as other pieces that we'll get into photograph as well. So let me grab a Tooth Fairy.
No worries.
Yeah, we found out ourselves a lot about self-publishing, because that's what Mel was doing. She was self-publishing a book on Amazon. So that was a real eye-opener for us. So yeah, we encourage, because a lot of guests we've had on saying, hey, we'd like to do a book or whatever. Yep. So we're just saying, you know, not that we're getting paid from Amazon, not yet. Come on, Amazon, give us some money. But it seems to be the way forward, I think, for a lot of people.
It's so fantastic that there's so many resources globally available to anyone, anywhere. That's just it now. So hence why I've really gone into the insects. I didn't know that I could buy so many insects and such a variety of insects and arachnids so easily and not have to go out and find them myself. And then I've also had a friend self-publish books, science fiction author, and he's done all that himself, and without having to leave his house. So
good.
Yeah.
Well, he'll encourage him to be our next guest. That's all we can say.
Sure, I will. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I can.
We'd love to hear how that whole process that he's been through. You know, the ideas, the books, and everything else. That'd be fascinating.
But wait, before we go off on that tangent, because we can go off on that, let's look at the Tooth Fairy that he's captured and suffocated in this class too.
This is just one Tooth Fairy, or the only Tooth Fairy that I have left in the house at the moment. All the others are sold really quick. So
nice.
All right, so this one is
very pretty. Okay.
So I've titled that one Fallen. So she's obviously rusty. She's been there a while. Wings are all tattered and so forth. The wings actually have a background story. The wings came about because my dog discovered my box of butterflies one day and started to eat them.
Ah, okay.
And that was basically what was left over. So I thought, what'll I do with it? And then one of my fans, Jazz Marie over in the US, she said, hey, why don't you put it on a tooth fairy and, and make her all dead or something? And I thought that's a great idea. So these are my tooth fairies. They're not lovely little creatures, my tooth fairies. They're actually very voracious predators.
Very nice, though. That's a beautiful piece. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can help you sell some more. Those are gorgeous.
Well, yeah. So this is a series which will be expanded upon.
Nice.
The story I wrote for the Tooth Fairies, like I said, it was well received. It's only a short story. It's only a couple pages long. You can find that on my Facebook page. And it's sort of, again, another avenue of creativity. Short story writing was something that I did back in my college days as well. So, yeah.
And what's the Facebook page called, Tim?
It is called Captured Spiderweb Creations.
Well,
okay,
that's an adjective, just like his website, Captured Spiderweb Creations. Even I can.
That's it. That's it.
That's where I'm going to steal all his information for the YouTube bio that we put, basically. So,
well, Tim, thank you so much for being with us today. Absolutely fascinating. We're going to leave a little bit of gas in the can because we're certainly going to come back and talk to you again.
That'd be great.
Any fellow Aussies that we can help, become global stars through our global audience, all 13 of them, we'll do our very best. So please encourage them to come and join us. Stephen, thank you again for your time today.
And thank your skeleton behind us as well, because that was, and tell him to stop talking so much the next time.
Gary's worked hard today.
He does. He has.
Just stay with us, Tim, when we finish recording for a few bits and bobs. But thank you so much for your time, Stephen. Again, thank you.
And thank you very much for having me on the show, guys. I really
it was a pleasure.
All this you can find on www.twooldfarts.vip. Thank you. Bye bye.